Right, so this is going through T4R2, which is the finance revision activity for grade 10. So the first question we have here is the RCL of Earlcraft High School is raising funds for their school sports day, which was in June 2022. And the funds are going to be used to revamp their sports center. And then we've got a till slip here that shows what they purchased for making hot dogs for the event. And they tell us they also sold cool drinks. So we've got this till slip here. We can see it's from Check and Save Superstores. We've got some contact information. And then we've got all the different items that they're going to purchase going down there. So the first thing they want us to tell us, they want us to say is what type of financial document we're looking at. So this you could say till slip. You could also say a tax invoice. We would accept that as well. But the easiest one is a till slip because we can see, and we can see it's a till slip also because of the fact that there's a cashier listed as well. Then they want us to find our missing values, A, B, C, and D. So let's start with looking at A, which is over there. It's in the total column, so we know it's got to do with totals. And they tell us here 23 dozen hot dog rolls, 15 Rand per dozen. So all we're going to do is we're going to say, right, if it's 15 Rand per dozen, so 15 Rand, and there are 23, so times by 23. And if we do that on our calculator, 23 times 15, we get to 345 Rand. So that was A, 345. Then they're asking us to look at B, and if I look at B, I can see that B is over there. It's also a total. And this one is 2 kilograms of soya hot dogs and 18 per kilogram at 30 Rand per kilogram. So we know it's 30 Rand for one, and we are purchasing 2. So all we're going to go is 30 Rand times 2, which is 60 Rand. Oops, let's do that in a different color pen. No. 30 Rand times 2, 60 Rand for B. Okay, if we move along there, then we're going to look for C, and C is the total. So total is just adding up. Now the important thing with this, because obviously normally when you're answering this, it would be on an answer script or in your workbook, is that you don't forget to also add in the A and B values, because when they worked out the total for the till slip, they used all of these values, so you must add all of them together. So we're just going to do that. So we start with the first one, 345 plus 450 plus 60 Rand plus the 30 Rand, and you just kind of go all the way down the list. And you must show this calculation as well, by the way, on your answer scripts. You must show the numbers that you're adding. Don't just write a total, because if you just write the total, you will lose those method marks if you do it incorrectly. So show the whole calculation. It gets to 1970. Then they're wanting D, which is the change. So the change is obviously, we are told here, the cash tendered. So that was how much they gave the till slip. They gave the teller, I mean. So we would say 200 Rand, 2,000 Rand, minus the total that we had previously, which is 1970. And that gives us 30 Rand for D. Okay. Next question they ask us there is they want us to calculate the cost of a single roll. So if we look for where we see rolls over here, and we're told over here the cost of, 15 Rand per dozen. So really what we're looking at here is, do you know how many is in a dozen? A dozen is 12. It is a value you're expected to know. So if they're 15 Rand for 12 of them, we're going to say 15 Rand divided by 12. And that will give us a value of 1 Rand 25 each. Okay. Then we've got here a pack of serviettes was 20 Rand in 2017. In June 2019, it was 25 Rand. Calculate the percentage increase in the price of serviettes using the following formula. And the nice thing is they give us the formula, but remember this is not a required formula, so meaning we're not required to give it in a paper. You can be expected to know this formula as well. How do we find percentage of increase or percentage change? So, but in this case they do tell us. So first one is the new price. The newer price is the 25 Rand minus the old price, which was 20 Rand, over the older price, which was 20 Rand, and then we're going to say times 100. And if we do that, we're going to get to 5 Rand divided by 20 Rand, and then we times by 100, 25%. Okay. Now they ask us what is one perishable item that was purchased. Perishable is a rather specific word. In an exam, I would expect for that word to be defined in some way. So either they'll tell you what that word is, or the items on the till slip will be linked in some way to show like these are the perishable items. So in this case, because it's a worksheet and not a test, they haven't actually given you the definition of perishable. Perishable means things that can expire. So we're not talking about things like tinned food, which can last for a very long time. We're talking about things that are going to expire within a week or 2 weeks, okay? That is not stuff you want to keep. So if I go through the list, and the question says you only have to list one, so you can pick which one you're going to talk about. But if I just kind of go down, you could have said hot dogs, you could have said chicken Viennas, soya hot dogs I would accept as well. Canola margarine, yes, okay, that's all right as well. Not oil. Oil can last without going off for quite a while. You could probably keep it almost indefinitely, but it definitely is not going to expire in the short term. Not Coca-Cola, because Coca-Cola can last also for a long time. Gas is not food, so it's not perishable, and it's also not going to go off. Not paper cups, not serviettes, and I wouldn't list the sauce either. Sauces and things can keep in your cupboard and in your pantry for a long time. So we're really looking for fresh food. Okay, so the fresh food, your safest options would be the rolls, the Vienna sausages, the hot dogs would also be fine. Those are kind of going to be your safest options. Okay. You can also think about things that are perishable in the sense of if I left it out of the fridge, would it go off quickly? Or if I didn't store it very well. Okay. Then they ask us 1.6, state one way that the store can be contacted if there's a query. So if I look at my till slip, how can we contact the store? Well, they give us all of the options over here. Now these can be in different places depending on the till slip. Sometimes at the top, sometimes at the bottom. In this case, they're all at the top. So you could have said telephone, fax, or email. Any of those three would have been fine. Okay, and you just have to list one of them because they say one way. Remember, if they tell you this in a paper and they say you can only do it one answer, or they're only wanting one, and there's 3 different options, if you give more than one option, you will get penalized for doing that. And it's normally 1 mark per every extra option given. So if they specify 1, you only give 1. If they don't specify, then you can give multiple answers. Okay. And normally if I change this question and I said state the ways the store can be contacted, I would give you the same number of marks in that case for giving me all 3. I wouldn't give you necessarily 4 marks if you didn't state all 3. If the question said state the ways or state all the ways. Okay, so just pay attention to the phrasing of those questions. Okay, then they said they wanted to calculate the amount of VAT that was paid on the cool drinks. So VAT is going to be at 15%. It does normally tell you somewhere on the till slip the VAT amount. You are not going to get VAT amounts of 14% in a test or an exam unless it is highlighted somewhere that this is like a really old till slip. You will normally get 15%. The only thing you need to be careful of about this 15% is if it's like a foreign currency or something overseas where they might change the percentage to a different percentage. It's unusual to see that at grade 10 level, though. That's normally in grade 11 and going into grade 12. But just have an awareness that it's not always 15%. You do want to check your percentages. Okay, and they're wanting it on the Coca-Cola. So if I look at the Coca-Cola here, it was 450 Rand. And that includes VAT because till slips always have VAT in it. So 450 Rand. Let me go down here. And this is a very important thing that you know how to do this. 450 has VAT in it. Okay, so that's including. So I'm going to divide by 1,15 to get the price without it. You cannot say 15% and subtract it. It will not work. This is comes up in almost every single assessment you do that involves finance from now all the way through to matric. You must know how to do VAT forwards and backwards, meaning adding VAT onto something and taking it away. It is also a very common mistake, is doing this question incorrectly. So 450 divided by 1,15, and that's going to give me 391 Rand and 30 cents. And I'm going to say 0.30 because this is money, so you want to have 2 decimal places. Okay. 1.8 asks you to name one item that is VAT-free. So if we look at our till slip, now VAT-free items are always listed in a particular way. There's always something around the prices to indicate what is VAT-free. So let me just clear my till slip of all of this so that we've got a bit of a clearer space. So what you want to be doing is looking towards the bottom of your slip for where it tells you how do they identify zero-rated items or VAT-free items. And in this case, it's down here. And you can see here that the hashtag is zero-rated. It tells you that over there. So that tells me anything that has a hashtag next to it is VAT-free. And we have one over here and one over here. So that means the canola oil, or the other option is the gas. Those are the only 2 things that we're going to accept for zero-rated on this till slip. Do not start going into a whole thing of going, but hot dogs or rolls are food items, so they're not going to be charged VAT. A lot of food items are charged VAT. So you want to be specifically looking for where is it actually marked off on your till slip and working from there. So we're going to do either gas or the canola oil. Those are the only 2 that we're going to accept in this case. And again, you're only going to state one of them. I'm writing both because you could have done either, but you will only write one down because they only ask you for one. So canola oil or the gas. Okay. Then we've got a cup of cool drink was sold for 5 Rand. There are 8 cups in 1 2-liter. Calculate the profit that was made from 1 bottle of cool drink. Okay, so this one is a bit of a longer question. So let me get this on a new page. Okay, so here, let's look at the question again. We're told that a cup of cool drink is sold for 5 Rand. So we know that our sales are going to be 5 Rand each. And we're going to say times by, let me make my 5 look a bit better. 5 Rand times by however many we are talking about the quantity, right? Then they tell us there are 8 cups in 1 2-liter. And they want us to know what would be the profit made from 1 bottle. So let us remember that profit is always going to be our income or our sales minus our costs, right? Minus our costs or our expenses. So we need to work out each of those. Firstly, we need to work out what is the income and then the cost. So the income or the sales we know here was 5 Rand times by how many bottles? And they want you to know for 2-liter, so 5 Rand times 8 bottles, because they tell us that is 40 Rand. Okay. Then if we look at so I'm going to just fill that in there, 40 Rand. Then we need to look at our costs. So our cost for a 2-liter bottle, well, that came from the till slip. I've got it up here, but I cut that from the till slip. It's 22 Rand per 2-liter. So our cost is going to be 22 Rand 50. Okay, and then all we need to do here is subtract to see what would be the profit. You are expected to understand how to find profit as being income minus expenses, or in this case, our sales or our income from those 8 cups minus the cost of the 8 cups. And if we do that, we will get to 17 Rand 50. Okay, and notice my calculator here, if I just move it up, is 17,5, but when I write my answer, I'm going to write 1750 because it's money, and money must have 2 decimal places. Always. Whoops. Okay, so that was question 1.9. Let's go on to question 2. Okay, so question 2 is all about continuing with our scenario of the grade 10 learners. And this one, they tell us that they raised 3,800 Rand in cake sale and they want to invest the money. So now we're looking at interest and investing money. Okay, and we have here option 1, Bank A, which is simple interest, and option 2, Bank B, which is compounded interest. Okay, you will find that some schools don't do compounding interest in grade 10, or at least we don't focus on it until grade 11. So don't overly stress about the compounding interest too much. Simple interest is much more common for grade 10, and then we focus more on it in grade 11. But let's see what they're going to ask us about first. So 2.1 says calculate the total amount they will have at the end of 2 years if they're doing option 1. So option 1 is simple interest. So let me again get this onto a new page with some space to do the working out. Right, here we go. Okay, so simple interest, remember, we need to understand that the amount of interest you earn every year is going to be the same. So if we can find the interest for 1 year, we can then find out for 2 years or 5 years or 25 years if that's asked. So in this case, they tell us that for option A, we have 5.5% per annum. PA means per annum, meaning per year, simple interest, and it's going to be for 2 years. So let's do this. Okay, so they want, at the end of the 2 years, what's going to be in the account? Well, the first thing that's going to be in the account is the 3,800 Rand, because they're putting it in the account and they're not telling us they're taking anything out. And the interest is going to be there. So let's look at the interest. The interest, they tell us, is 5.5% per year. So 5.5% or 5.5 over 100 of how much is in the account, which is 3,800 Rand. Okay, this is our interest for 1 year. All right, this is for 1 year. But we need to do for 2 years, so we're going to times it by 2. Okay, so this is interest, plus we need to include our original balance. And then we can do that on a calculator. Now, my calculator is not scientific, so I'm going to do it in sort of sections. So I'm going to first do my inside of my brackets, remember BODMAS. So 5.5%, which is 0.055. That's how you do it if you can't do a fraction on your calculator. Times by 3,800. So that's my interest for 1 year, 209 Rand. So 38 plus 209 Rand per year times by the 2 years. Right? Let's move that up a little bit. Now BODMAS tells us we must multiply by 2 next. So I'm going to take that 209 times by 2. And that will give me 418. So I can say here equals to 3,800 plus 418. And then when you add those together, we're going to get to 4218. Here's my answer. Okay, so that was question number 2.1. Let's look at 2.2 now. Okay, so 2.2 says the following table shows the interest calculations for option 2. Remember that option 2 was our compounding interest. And we've got here year 1 and then year 2 calculation. Oh, I'm going to need to get the information from that. 1 second. Okay, there's our option 2. And we need to find the missing values A and B. Okay, so let's make sense of this table. So our table tells us firstly year 1, and we've got the initial amount. So that's how much is in the account at the start of year 1, okay? Now we need to add our interest earned, and our interest, they tell us, is 4.5% per annum, okay? And compounded annually. You're only going to deal with annual interest in grade 10. As we get higher up, we'll deal with if it's compounding monthly or quarterly. But for grade 10, we just need to know it's for the year. So we're going to say, okay, right, so we're getting 3,800 Rand. Oops. Sorry, my pen's being a little off here. Let's try that again. 3,800 Rand. And the interest is 4.5%. So we want to know what is 4.5%, meaning over 100, of 3,800 Rand. And we can do that with a calculator. Okay. Now, again, my calculator doesn't do fractions, so I'm going to put it in as a decimal. You can do it as a fraction because you've got scientific calculators. And it gives me 171. Okay, so that is going to be my value of A. Okay, 171. Now, if you didn't know how to do the percentage calculation, you could have also done a subtraction calculation. That would have been a different way to go about it. And you could have said, well, it's 3,971 with the interest, because it tells you that that's the final amount, which is after we've added the interest. Oh, I'm missing a 9 over there. 3,971. Take away the 38 that we originally put into our account at the start, and you're going to get to 171. That would be another way of doing the calculation. Both are perfectly acceptable. Just make sure you do know how to do both, though, because it can be a forced calculation by us not giving you this amount and then asking you to find it. Okay, then we need to find B, and this is seeing, do you know how to find a final amount? Because B is the final amount of year 2. So at the start of year 2, we start out with 3,971. They tell us the interest, so we're going to add the interest because it's an investment. 178,695. They give it unrounded, so we're going to work with it unrounded. And then you just add them together. So we're going to go 3,971 plus 178.695 gives us 4149,695. Okay, now because this is our final answer, we're going to round off at this stage, because your final answer, you're always wanting to round to 2 decimal places minimum for money. If I look to do rounding, this 9 is going to have to go up because the 5 over here tells me it's going to have to go up. And if the 9 is going to go up to 10, my 6 is going to go up to a 7. So 4149,70. And again, money, 2 decimal places. Okay, let's go to question 3. So question 3 is all about Lerato with their Vodalite costing price plans. And they give us all the different rates for the different types of calls and SMSs and all the rest of it. And the first thing we're asked to do is, during the month of November, Lerato sends 1 SMS per day to relatives. How much does this activity cost her in rands? So, firstly, we know it's November. You are expected to know how many days are in each month of the year. So if you don't know that, it's worth revising it. And then what are we told about the cost of the SMSs? Well, we're told it's 80 cents per day, per SMS, all day. So every SMS she sends is going to be 80 cents. So, and November, and she is sending 1 per day, and November has 30 days. Oh, my pen's not cooperating. 30 days. So, if it's 80 cents per day, and they want her answer in rands, I'm going to put the 80 cents as rands. If you don't know how to go from cents to rands, you're dividing by 100. So 80 cents per message. She's sending 30 messages in total, 1 per day. And we're just going to put that on a calculator to see our answer here. So 30, oops. And let me try that again. 30 times by 80 cents is 24 Rand. Right. And that's the answer to that one. Now we have Lerato spending 2 hours and 30 minutes talking to her relatives during the month. Calculate the costs and assume there are 30 days in a month. Okay, so they've actually told us here what we needed to know for the previous question, which was all about how many days in November. Okay, so let's see how they charge us for calls. So calls, they tell us here, are 90 cents per minute, but they are billed per second. So that means we actually, if there are seconds involved, would need to work out how much is the per second cost. The good news, though, is that they haven't given us seconds. They're telling us 2 hours and 30 minutes. So given that I know that it's 90 cents per minute, so 0.90 for 90 cents per minute, and I would need to times that by how many minutes of calls she's doing. Now, I don't have that. I've got 2 hours and 30 minutes. So I need to say, well, then 2 hours times by 60 is 120 minutes, plus the 30 minutes that I already had in minutes, gives me 150 minutes. So that's the total call time that she's doing, is 150 minutes. So I can say then 90 cents times by 150 minutes, and 90 cents times by 150 minutes is 135 Rand. Okay. Now I'm being asked here to calculate her daily cell phone costs for calls in rands. Now it's important to notice that they're saying for calls, so I'm not worrying about 3.1, but I am worrying about 3.2, because that was all about the calls. And we want to know the daily cost. So this is a cost for the month, but how much is it for each day? So you could do this a few ways. Some people will already be able to see we need to divide. If you can't, you can also think about it of the fact we know it's 135 Rand for 30 days. I want to know for 1 day. And you can do this as a ratio as well, because this is a type of a ratio. Technically a rate, but it's a ratio. So I can go 1 divided by 30 times by 135. Or you could just go 135 divided by 30, if you could already see to do that. And that will give us 4.50 per day. Okay. So, 4.50 per day. Right, that was question 3. Let's move on to question 4. Okay, so question 4 is about Deco Firm. The furniture shop, and they're having a birthday sale. Mr. Lamini wants to buy a TV plasma unit for 499 Rand using the cash option. All the prices have VAT, are VAT inclusive, so it's in there. Study the payment options in table 1 and answer the questions that follow. And we can see there that they're giving us 2 different options. We have a cash option. So remember, whenever we're talking about a cash option, we're saying if I go in and I pay for the whole amount upfront, it doesn't mean you have to physically pay with cash, like with notes, but it means you are paying straight away the full amount. So I could pay with my debit card as well, but I'm not taking it on a credit. I'm going to pay it all in one day, in one payment, okay? So if we do the cash option, it's 499 Rand, and you get a discount of 10%. Or the other option is the lay-by option. And lay-by option, remember, is when you're paying it off in installments. So lay-by options is still going to cost us $4.99, but they require a deposit, and then you're going to have to pay off the rest in monthly installments, equal monthly installments. They also tell us there is no discount for this option. Okay, so the first thing, write down the cash price. Well, cash price is what you would pay if you went and paid straight away. So it is $4.99. Then they want us to calculate the cost of the plasma TV unit if I do the cash option. So what do we know about the cash? Well, we know it's $4.99, but we also know we get a discount. So it's going to be $4.99 minus the discount. And what do we know about the discount? Well, the discount is 10%, but remember, you can't just say minus 10%, because you can never just have a percentage in a calculation without having it of a number, so being multiplied by a value. So it is 10% of the price. So 10% of, maths is multiply, $4.99. So that will give me $4.99 minus 49 Rand 90, that's 10%, And if you do that, 4.99 minus 49 Rand 90, I get to 4.49 10 cents. So 4.49 10 cents. That's what you will pay with the discount. Then they wanted to calculate the deposit amount for the lay-by option. Okay, well, the deposit is 15%. It's 15% of the price. So we're just going to say here, let's go up a little bit. What is 15%, or 15 over 100? You can do it that way too, of 4.99. And we do that on our calculator here. I'm going to do it as a decimal, 0.15 times by 4.99, 74.85. So that would be my deposit on that price. Okay, I believe that brings us to the end of the activity. Please ask your math lit teacher if you are not sure of anything that we've gone over in this activity, and I wish you all the luck with your studies.